everyone, I'm Liette here with Gandomel.
Hey, how you doing?
And we're going to be talking about Skyforge, or rather, I'll be asking a lot of questions about Skyforge, and Gandomel will be answering them because he is our resident expert. So, Gandomel is going to be Grievance's embassy leader for our Skyforge guild, and we're really looking forward to hopping in the game. I know you've had a lot of time to test it over the last few weeks, Gandomel, so we're going to pretend like I haven't even hopped in the game and discuss what's so awesome about it. So can you start off telling me a little bit about the setting?
Okay, well, what it is, it's a planet that's lost its elder god. So all these surrounding planets, things like that, are invading and sending down creatures and all kinds of stuff. So basically the people are praying to the immortals, which is what your characters are when you start. You're an immortal, and you're trying to reach a god status. So basically you're just there to do all these, heroic deeds and jobs for the people of the planet, and as you do more deeds, you gain more followers and faith, and people start to believe in you, and you become more powerful and powerful until you reach a god status.
Okay, cool. So, I understand from a basic game mechanic, you're a god, so you're not going to die?
Yeah, even at the very beginning, as an immortal, there is no repair bills in this game. So even if you die, jumping off a cliff, somebody kills you, enemies kill you, you'll never waste gold on repairs. So
okay.
you can't die, you just respawn from the last checkpoint, so to speak, and you just continue on your quest.
Okay, sweet. So no corpse runs either, huh?
No corpse runs.
Alright. Well, let's start from the beginning. How does character creation go?
With character creation, you have your basic male, female. They have physique anywhere from skinny track star to the bulky, stocky guy who can't even walk but has sausages for legs. I mean, you can, anywhere in between, if you think about it, you can do it. Eye color, hair color, facial features, nose. Just think of anything on a body you can change, you can do in this game.
Okay, so can you give your character a butt lift?
Maybe in the South American release.
Okay, okay. Well, for the record, when you make a female character, just from my very limited experience, yes, you can give her a butt lift. So.
Well, I don't play many females, so.
Oh, sure. All right, so you ladies who want to make your butt just a little, yep, you can. And it's pretty cool. So, I know you have a limited set of classes that you can start with. Can you tell us a bit about those?
Well, originally at launch there's going to be 13 overall classes, but most of them you have to read through the Ascension Atlas, which we'll touch on later.
Okay.
The basic starting classes, if you haven't bought into the game as a founder, are a Lightbinder, which is a support class, kind of like a healer, which there's really no traditional healer, so that's why I say kinda. Then you have your Paladin, which is a tank or DPS, and an Cryomancer, which is basically a Frost Mage. So you have your standard DPS, tank, support classes to start with, and then all of them, of course, like the tank and support classes, can do DPS as an offset.
Okay, very cool. We're hearing that we don't have sound for a couple folks. I would crank it. And if those of you who can hear us would not mind saying, hey, crank it up, please crank it up. Because I've got us as max as I can, I'm sorry. But back to gaming things. How's the music?
The sound, the scores in this game are amazing. I love everything aesthetically about it. The sounds about it. The music is just awesome. Just think of the Outlander series on Stars, and that music reminds me so much of that. I just love it. It's excellent.
Very cool. From what I've just heard in trailers and things, it's pretty epic. So, graphics-wise, how would you describe the game?
The game is aesthetically beautiful. Just think of, I don't even know what game to compare it to because it's not very pixelated. It's very smooth graphics. Everything looks like it could have visually just taken a picture of something outside and they imported it in the game.
Awesome. Awesome. And from what I've seen, it's beautiful. I'm going to throw up some screenshots as we keep talking here, just to show what the actual in-game graphics look like. So we know that we have some basic classes to start out, and there are support classes, there's your DPS. Can you tell me a bit about how each character interacts with each other as far as grouping goes?
Okay, with the group in the beginning, most of your little instances that you open up are scalable 1 to 3 players. You can group up, you can run them solo if you wish. This game highly promotes grouping, and you get benefits from grouping as a bonus to your spark collection, things like that. Most of the stuff in the initial, before you hit the 5-mans, don't require the standard tank DPS support. You can run it with 3 DPS, 3 tanks, 3 support, doesn't matter.
Cool.
When you hit into the 5-mans, it requires the standard, I hate to call it a trinity because there's no healer in this game really, like traditional healer. But it requires you have a DPS to support, well, 3 DPS to support and a tank to start the instance, and then once you're in, given the dynamic of the game, you can change classes at will. So once you're in the instance, if you decide to change a class, you can.
Well, that's really, really flexible. So do you have to worry about gear when you change classes like that?
No, all the gear you've collected for, say, like, there's initially, 6 gear slots to begin with, and then another 6 you can get later on as you hit higher prestige levels. Mm-hmm. Your rings are basic. They will transfer to any class that you transfer to. So all your gear transfers is stat-wise. Your main hand and offhand weapons need to be upgraded individually based on what you pick up, because every item is class-specific. So, like, only the Berserker can use the swords, like the 2-handed big swords. Only the Paladins can use the light shield. Only the Knight can use the heavy shield, that kind of stuff.
Got it. Okay. So you can keep your clothes on, just change out your weapon. Got it.
Speaking of clothes, you can change costumes at will anytime in the game aesthetically. It doesn't matter, like, you can be a Paladin wearing a Stalker's uniform. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
The costumes are all aesthetic value. They have no stat value to them at all.
Cool. So really the only way to tell what somebody else is playing at first glance is to look at what weapon they have?
At what weapon, and then above your name, if they have it, optional in the game, it will have the symbol of that class. Every class has a unique symbol.
Okay, cool. So it only takes seconds to change out your classes, and it doesn't matter where you are, you can change it. That's pretty sweet. The only times I've seen something that flexible was, I think, in Rift. Did you ever play that?
No, but the class system reminded me very much of Final Fantasy XIV.
Okay.
To where one character can be everything.
Cool. So, do you have to level up each class individually?
Yes, the talents are by individual class. So, like, say you like the Berserker, you can run the Berserker all you want. Once you max him out, if you have the premium account, you'll start collecting these Sparks of Evolution, which can be used to advance any class, whether you played them or not.
Okay.
Other than that, you have to collect the colored Sparks to advance the class to get the bigger talents and things like that.
Cool. All right. How long does it take you to collect Sparks?
They're pretty easy to farm. I mean, depending on the world map, it will show you what rewards each dungeon will give you, and they change every 40 minutes.
Got it.
But they won't change while you're in the dungeon. Say you started the dungeon and it was 2 times the green spark, and it's scheduled to change in 5 minutes. So naturally, you're not going to finish the dungeon in 5 minutes. But your reward will still be initially what you started the dungeon at.
Got it. Okay. Well, let's back up a little bit. Tell me about currency in the game. You mentioned that you don't have to spend gold on repairs, but what currency do you need and what do you use it for?
This game has probably 20 different currencies off the top of my head.
Oh boy.
But every one of them is unique to a specific system in the game.
Okay.
So you have your standard gold credits is what they call it in the game. That's for buying stuff on the marketplace, which is not an auction house. It has a set value, so you can just buy them. And as the need goes up, the price will go up. So like supply and demand type of thing. The sparks, of course, are the currency you use to advance your class. And then you have an individual class spark, which is only good for a particular class, paladin, whatever you're playing. And then as we get more and more into the game, there's an order system, which is, I guess they're kind of crafting, but it's basically the SWTOR version of, you have your little helpers that you can send out and do missions and stuff, and they basically preach for you and gain followers, make you stronger. They have their own currencies, good 5 of them inside there to help them advance in light and that kind of stuff. Uh, you have currencies to upgrade your weapons because you can upgrade the actual rank of your weapon instead of actually, you change out a weapon, but then you can increase the base rank of a weapon.
Okay.
So it gives it more stats and things like that. And that's just a hint on a few of them. Like I said, there's several currencies in this game but it sounds more complicated than it is.
Okay, so basically to do any kind of upgrading, you need to have the right currency?
Yeah, you need to have credits, and then there's a specific spark for upgrading weapons, and then like you have color sparks, and there is a weekly cap on what you can gain, but there is really no way for somebody to go past you by paying money and that whole pay to win rumor. It's more pay to progress. All you're going to do is hit your cap faster.
Gotcha. Okay. So I know with some of the Founders Packs talking about caps and currencies, we can still become a founder in the game, correct?
Yeah, you can purchase Founder Packs, I believe, all the way up till the 16th when open beta launches.
Okay.
So even with the early release, if you see some streams going on, something you're like, hey, I really just want to buy into it, you can still buy in and get into the game instantly with early release up until open beta launches.
Okay. And what are some of the Founders Pack rewards?
Like the largest one, which is Wrath of the Gods, which is one I got, opens up the Gunner and Berserker classes immediately to me.
Cool.
Gives me like a treasure chest of all kinds of spark replicators, which duplicate your sparks. You get a 50% increase when you're doing it. Gives you some credits to start out with, some Argents, which is another in-game currency used to, buy things for the guild, buy things. You can trade it in for credits if you need money, that kind of stuff. Gives you mounts, gives you costumes, that kind of stuff. Then they have a medium one that opens up one of the classes. I believe it's the Berserker right off the get-go in the middle class. And then it just gives you a step-down tier of the credits and Argents and things like that. And the beginner pack, I think, is $19.99. It gets you in, gives you a little bit of credits to start with, a little bit of Argents to start with, but you don't have any classes open right away except for the 3 basic and things like that.
Gotcha. So, since there will be some people starting with Berserker and Gunner versus not, how does somebody who just starts the game, hasn't become a founder, how do they get to those classes to make them available?
Okay, when you're starting, it's pretty simple. I'd say within the first few hours of gameplay, you can open up what they call the Upper Atlas, the Upper Ascension Atlas, which is basically this massive atlas with all these nodes and stat bonuses, and it's how you get your god form. Well, inside that atlas, there'll be individual nodes to unlock classes. So all you have to use is your colored sparks, navigate your way through the atlas, hit that class node, and boom, you can unlock that class, and now it's playable.
Okay, well, let's back up there. You mentioned the Ascension Atlas. What is that?
It's basically the talent tree, so to speak, of this game. It's very similar to Path of Exile.
Okay.
It's kind of a linear progression, and then it starts to branch off, and then you can branch off. Like, say, the Paladin has a support function or a DPS function. So if you wanted to build your Paladin towards more tank, once that branch off happens, you can start putting your stats into your shields and health regen, that kind of stuff, threat generation, versus, I just want to do massive damage.
Gotcha.
And then once you hit that class spark, which is the same symbol I was speaking of before, when you hit that, it will open up that upper tree, and they'll just have bigger bonuses. So like in the bottom of the tree, it might be +5 to strength. Up there, it might be +15.
Gotcha. I think we've got some screenshots of the Atlas too, so let me bring those up so that we can give a visual of what we've been talking about. So in the screenshot I'm showing, it's just a basic, here's the Atlas, and exactly as you described, you've got the linear progression along the round nodes. And then I do see where it branches off and you have choices. Now, would it be possible, say, to cover both support and the DPS functions of a given class? Can you cover everything, or are you kind of stuck once you branch off?
No, you can, as many sparks as you can collect is how many ever nodes you can unlock. So you can theoretically fill out this whole tree and unlock everything.
Okay. Well, holy moly. All right. So I guess that gives you major flexibility as a character, just depending on where you put your currency. Wow, sweet. I remember when you first start, because I've played for a whole hour-ish, sorry, picking your classes, that's a lot to figure out. or at least it feels like to me. So, just from a very basic, I'm a new player standpoint, how complicated does this get?
They've cleaned up the system a lot from the early betas. It's very now, like, as you get new items, it says the little pop-ups will help, like little tooltips will pop up saying press L and then do this and then do this and you unlock it. And it's basically to get you very familiar with their in-depth systems. But as you progress on, those tooltips aren't there anymore, so it's kind of a lot of mouse over once you get farther down the road, once you pass all that tutorial stage. But, I mean, it could take probably a couple of hours of gameplay to figure out how the combat system really operates, things like that, how some of the combo works, everything works off a combat system with a left click, right click combo, things like that.
Got it.
2 hours max, probably. You understand the systems.
Okay, so I have another hour to go. Got it. Well, you mentioned quests, or at least missions. So you advance, as I understand it, through gaining currency that is a reward for participation in missions?
Yes. On your world map, they're basically the mortals on that planet are crying out for help. Hey, these people are killing us. Can you come down and save us, type of thing. So you come down, and as you talk to the people of that area, the city, the region, whatever, they will say, hey, I need you to go kill a bunch of these people. Your traditional MMO type stuff. Go kill these people. Hey, go let the sergeant know you're here, that kind of stuff. A lot of running around, killing, collection, just things like that. And as you complete each quest, they will give you these colored spark rewards, credits, all kinds of other little different currency rewards that you can use in the game.
Got it. Well, with all those missions to do, how do you feel as a player? Do you like them? Are they pretty varied? Is there a lot to do? Or does it get kind of repetitive?
Initially, there's a lot of repetitive... I hate to say a lot of repetitive grind because it opens up pretty quickly as the prestige values open up. But initially, you can hit some walls like, oh, I need to go back and do this dungeon a couple more times to get these colored sparks, to get my prestige level up, to open up the next area type of thing. So, I mean, but every time you repeat a dungeon, like say you've already cleared an area, the next time you go back in there, it's going to give you these bonus objectives.
Okay.
So it gives it a little twist, so it's not just, okay, we know this whole dungeon, and just close your eyes and zerk through it. But it gives you these little bonuses, find these secret orbs, or, okay, try to kill 12 mobs in a row with that, within 10 seconds, or something like that.
Okay, cool. So, if you were to do dungeons with friends and take in a group, obviously your difficulty level goes up, I assume, with more mobs, or the mobs get more health points, or can you just kind of smash the snot out of it with more people?
The first couple of areas that what they call the squad missions are scalable 1 to 3. If you go in solo, you should be good. No problem. 3 players, no problem. The mobs have more health. They have different AI mechanics because there's more people for them to target, things like that. As you get in the higher prestiges, like 5 and 6K, I highly suggest at least running 2 people in some of these squad missions because unless you're a tank or a self-shielding class, it might be a lot of kiting that you're trying to do to kill these mobs.
Okay. Well, speaking of kiting, because, hey, new to the game, how does combat typically work? Can you describe a little of the mechanics of it? Is it twitch-based? Is it tab targeting? How do you do it?
Okay, in the game, they support 2 systems. They have the target reticle, very Neverwinter-ish action combat.
Okay.
And then they also support tab targeting.
Cool.
So you can tab through a target, select who you want, and they also have a focused target function. So once you have a target, say, this boss, and you just want to nail the boss, but he summons 3 ads, and you're afraid to click off the boss. You can put your focus target on him, and no matter where you click on the screen, it will not lose your target. You will never lose him. So you can sit there and just run around in a circle, and your guy will automatically strafe around and face him every time you shoot.
Okay, that's pretty sweet. I would need that because I'm super bad at keeping things where they're supposed to
be. I do it all the time. I can't strafe and shoot for nothing.
Oh, well, I definitely can't. Gosh. Awesome. How does combat feel to you? Is it rushed? Is it pretty easy? Is it a hard game?
I don't find it difficult. I think every standard MMO player that's pretty much played any MMO on the market, she'll feel at home with the combat. I mean, it's not overly difficult, overly complicated. Most of the stuff is white damage. They do have dodgeable attacks, like you'll see them ramping up for a big attack. You can double tap dodge or shift and your movement key and dodge out of it, that kind of stuff. And most of it's preemptively striking, so you can see the major stuff. Hey, get out of the bad type of stuff. So anybody that's played any standard MMO should be relatively familiar with this type of combat.
Cool. Are there any particular games that it feels most like to you?
Neverwinter.
Neverwinter. Okay. Cool. Well, that got a lot of compliments from our guild, so that's good to hear. We have Martine in channel saying it feels a lot like Phantasy Star with the central hub and section world. I haven't played that, but cool. I find it interesting how systems kind of mirror each other sometimes in different games, especially when things work really well. So cool. So we've covered how you advance in the game. What happens as you get past your beginner levels? Do you start really working towards high-end gear? How does that work?
Okay, as you get into your upper and upper levels, they have a lot of, and I don't want to call it end game because I have yet to see an end to this because it looks like it's endless progression to where you can always make your character better, that kind of stuff. So I call it high-end content. You have your standard raids. From what I've seen, all of them are 10-man so far. Okay. I haven't seen anything bigger than that. You have your Pantheon Wars, which is basically very reminiscent of Guild Wars 2, the guild versus guild battles.
Okay.
Requires 100 people to have unlock their god form within a Pantheon. And then you can auction and bid on these temples that you will compete against, and the winner gets control of the temple for X amount of time. I think it's a week. What's
the benefit to having a temple?
They unlock some statistical bonuses, some costumes that have stat bonuses on them, and they just give you a Pantheon and overall boost for the week, and also bragging rights.
Okay, cool. So it's like your clubhouse for a week.
Pretty much.
And it's kind of a capture the flag, I take it?
The way the Pantheon Wars is broken up is into 50 people get pulled into PvP matches, 50 people get pulled into PvE matches. This is a 2-hour session. They all happen simultaneously. So you have a 5 versus 5 capture the flag style, a 15 versus 15 control point style, and a 25 versus 25 King of the Hill.
Okay.
And then the PvE side is broken up into 5 10-man raids.
Okay. Well, sweet. That's a lot going on at once. Oh my goodness. So saying that it's broken up so much, are there servers in the game, or is it one big server?
For the North America, it's one big server. Europe has one big server.
Oh, wow.
So I think they did that intentionally for grouping purposes.
Okay.
So for looking for the group, so it's not like you're waiting 45 minutes in queue as a DPS to try to find a group.
Okay.
Which a lot of us seen that in a game that won't be mentioned.
Yes.
And then like for the Pantheon Wars, that leaves it more open to you'll have more competing Pantheons for those Pantheon Wars. It's not a limit of you have 2 or 3 monster guilds soaking up everybody, and that's the people that are fighting in your league.
Cool. So they expect the community to be more varied and less focused on 1 or 2 groups. That's pretty cool, actually. Well, sounds like a lot of teamwork would need to happen. And one thing that we had a good question about in our chat regarding how the Trinity works, or the Trinity, without an official healer. So can we go into a little game mechanic there? How does that work out in a group?
Okay, well, say your mobs, as you kill mobs and the bigger bosses that have multiple health bars, as you reduce one of their health bars, a health orb will kick out, which would be basically the healing function to where, if you're low, and most of them are pretty well reserved for tanks because DPS, you got to kind of fend for yourself because those orbs come few and far between. Now, like the 2 support classes, the Alchemist and the Lightbinder, can throw shields and things like that out to their allies and other team members. And Paladins and Knights have self-shielding functions as well as tanks. So if everything's rotated properly, it's more damage absorption instead of take a hit healing. So it's kind of preemptive healing. So as long as you shield yourself, you're not going to take that damage to begin with, as opposed to taking these massive hits and being able to heal through the damage.
Got it. So think before you go wading into battle, huh?
Yeah, a lot of it is game mechanic. You just got to watch the mechanics, stay out of the bad, especially on DPS. There's some fights that, and that's the whole reasoning behind the structure the way it is, that you can change classes anytime. So if like you're in a fight and it's not very melee friendly, you're like, well, I'm just going to switch to my archer and play range because there's a lot of crap on the ground around the boss.
Gotcha. Now, does all the class switching seem... does it make anything kind of hectic? Do you feel the need to switch classes depending on the situation? Or can you as a player say, hey, I definitely want to play a rogue the entire game. I like leather, so there. That's what I'm playing. Can you do that and get away with it?
Yeah, you can completely just say, hey, I only want to play. You don't have to unlock other classes. You don't. It's not, mandatory. Hey, you're never going to enjoy this game if you don't have all these classes unlocked. No, I mean, if you like the Slayer, which is the rogue in this game, if you like the Slayer and that's all you want to play, and when you get to your upper atlas, instead of branching to these classes to try to unlock classes, you can just go around the whole node what the class is, unlock all the bonuses, for the stat bonuses, strength, valor, luck, all this kind of stuff, and just leave the class one empty. Now, I don't want him, and just go and do other classes all the way down, all the other stuff around the trees. You don't have to play other classes. It just makes it versatile for mainly raid competition, I think, later in the game, to where, oh man, we're really melee heavy. Well, somebody switched to a necro, somebody switched to this.
Cool. So do you think for the player base it'll add more flexibility, or do you think it will make those that are specialized feel less specialized because it's available to everybody? What do you think?
Like what I think with any game is, there's, even with certain other games, you have 12 ults, but you're not as good at those other classes as you are one you like playing. So I'm always a big advocate: play what you enjoy, and don't let anybody else determine what they're gonna play for you. Really good answer.
Cool. Sweet. Well, I like healing and stuff, so I guess I'll be supporting shielding some people. Gonna check our chat to see if we have any questions, so let's see what we've got going on. From Tig, do you choose the type of PvP or PvE content for the big matches, or is it random?
Okay, it takes 50 people, and then it randomly tosses the people into the matches. Now keep in mind, the battles are scheduled once you bid on these temples, so it might be Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Just gonna use that as an example. Depending on however many people are logged on at that time, that's who's going to be thrown into battle. So, like, we might be 12 people going against 45 people because we only had 12 people online at the time the battle was scheduled.
Oh, my.
So it can get pretty ugly pretty quick. So the idea is, the reason they put that out there is so people can decide, okay, we need to be online at this time, as many as possible. So if we get called, when we get called into this Pantheon war, we have as much representation as we can.
Got it. So, essentially, guilds with a bigger player base at the right time will have a very distinct advantage through population, right?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is you're going to have, like, I don't say with population at a certain time. I just think guilds with larger player bases have the ideal for more people being online at certain times. Not necessarily the people you want. Because, we might have this group of 10 PvPers that are untouchable. But what happens if they're not all the time the Pantheon War goes on? You might get people that played nothing but PvE get thrown in some of these PvP matches because we were the only ones available at the time.
Got it. Okay. So you don't have much choice. It's just you're available. You said, yes, put me in this, and they put you somewhere. Cool.
Right. I've yet to see most of the functionality of it because nobody's made it up that far during the betas.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not going to 100% say, no, you can't select I'm a PvE player. I'm not going to say that for sure because I don't know nobody even in Russian's made it up that far either in the open beta in Russian. So we just know the base functionality of how it's going to work based on what the devs have said.
Right.
So I don't know if there is a way to select, hey, I like the PvP when I feel like PvPing, but I'm more of a PvE raider, But so I hope there's an option saying, well, I don't want a PvP.
I'm sure there will be. At least it's a match that you can say, yes, I want to go, or no, I don't, as I understand it, right?
And at least you're with everybody you know, because it's your guild only. It's not like you're randomly queued up people. Yeah. Or Pantheon, excuse me, we use the proper terminology.
Got it. Got it. Do you know if there are caps on how many people you can have in your guild?
From the initial, unless they expand it, it's the total you can have is 400.
Okay.
Capped out.
Oof.
The way it starts kind of low, but we have to work as a team to expand our guild. Kind of very similar to some of the other systems of MMOs, like Wallstar. You had to buy extra slots, and a few other games that are like that. You basically upgrade your guild to allow more people.
Got it.
And this is very similar. We have to do the same thing in the beginning.
Okay. As far as guild construct goes, obviously you share a name for your guild/pantheon. Aside from the temples, do you have any guild space to start out with the game? Can you buy a guild clubhouse that happens to not be a big old temple?
Yeah, well, everything in the game isn't like physically there for us to go walk around and say, hey, look at that picture, that kind of stuff. It's all basically system based, and it's just stat bonuses. Like even with the Pantheon building the chambers, which expands ours, it's not a physical building you can walk into. It's more of a pen and paper type thing saying, okay, well, you've upgraded this and now you can have 40 people versus 15 or whatever to start with.
Okay. So no physical clubhouse. Got it. How about the game? Is it mostly instances or is there anything open world?
There are some open world regions to where people can zone in and everybody's just running around together. But I'd say 75% of the content is instanced.
Okay. Okay. So aside from your main hub area, you're not going to just run into most folks throughout most of the game. It's going to be, hey, I have made a friend. You're my friend. We're going to go do an instance together. Yay. That sort of thing?
Yes, that sort of thing. And then also, like I said, the open world regions, you can get a group together and not necessarily be in a party together, but you can say, hey, we're all going to zone into this, and you'll zone in right next to each other. And then y'all can just go work as a group completing all the missions in that particular region.
Okay. Cool. So, is there an auction house when you get stuff that you don't plan to use or you're done using stuff? What do you do?
They have for all your gear, they have an ability called disassemble.
Okay.
Which you basically break the gear down into materials you use to upgrade your gear you're currently wearing.
Okay.
That's part of one of the currencies that you need to upgrade gear. You get that from disassembling gear. And then other stuff you pick up kind of like your junk, your trash mobs, your trash loot. There's a thing called a marketplace. It doesn't function like an auction house. It functions more like a stock market.
Okay.
You can sell things to the market, buy things from the market, and as supply and demand goes up, the base price will change.
Okay. Okay, so it's a player-driven
economy, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. That's pretty neat. But how does crafting work, or is there crafting? Is it mostly just your own stuff?
Yeah, there is no. I haven't seen actually any crafting weapons or anything like that. They have what they call the order system, like I said, with the followers and stuff, and I think that's kind of their in-game mini game, like crafting was in most other games, to where you have a lot of functionality with the order, which gives you a lot of prestige because that's what boosts your followers, gives you more power, and you have to manage that quite a bit. You always want to try to keep people on missions and things like that, collecting materials and spreading the word of you and all this kind of stuff. Cool.
Have you ever found it a little creepy to think of all these little AI people hanging out, being like, Gandomel, Gandomel? Had any moments like that?
I can't say that I have.
All right, just checking there.
When they erect a statue to me, it kind of makes me feel pretty good.
Oh my goodness. They make statues of you?
Yes, they do from the very beginning. They'll erect a statue of you, and more and more people believe in you, your statue becomes more valuable. It starts bronze, silver, precious gems, gold, platinum. They just build it up and make you more and more special.
Is it a very accurate representation? So if I have a butt lift, will it be reflected in the statue?
Not from what I look like, because I was playing a pretty globulous alchemist, and my statue looked like he had some liposuction done.
Okay. Well, that's kind of a bummer. Perhaps they will add those features later. We did have a couple other questions. Speaking of stuff, does the equipment or bling have stats to help certain things? Is that affected when you switch a class? That's from Tig.
Okay, so like your actual weapons, just say sword and board, for instance, for your paladin, it will have like plus 34 might on it, a certain stat, and then it might have a secondary bonus saying these certain attacks do more damage at players below 50% health or something like that, or enemies below 50% health. So that each weapon could have, it always has a plus stat to it, and then it might have a secondary bonus.
Okay.
But like say you have a 35 plus might sword, and you picked up a pummel for a light binder, but it might only be plus 26. So when you switch to your light binder, you're going to be wearing the weapons that the light binder can equip. So that sword won't go to the light binder naturally because you can't use swords.
Right. Well, say I have a friend named Gandomel, and I happen to have this really big sword dropped, and I'm never going to use that sword because I'm a squishy. Can I hand you the sword and be like, happy birthday?
There's currently no trading in the game because theoretically every player can use every item.
Okay.
Because of the class functionality, the way you can open up every class, so theoretically every item can be used by a player.
Okay.
And if you don't want it, then you can disassemble it for parts.
Okay. Well, that's kind of a shame because it'd be fun to hand off big swords. But that's okay.
Yeah, there's been some talk of that on the forums.
That's interesting. No, I see why they don't want to flood anything. So, just makes you play more. Got it. Now let's see, we did have another good question. How do you make random friends if there isn't a whole lot of open world type areas?
They do have a looking for group function. So where, like, say you're online at 4 a.m. and of course most of Grievous is sleeping, with the exception of the Australians. But you can just hit, like when you zone into the thing, or say, do you want to do it solo or do you want to find a group? And you can just hit find a group, and it will put you in a queue, and you can group with random people, and then, hey, I kind of like you, add you to my friends list, and you can always see when they're online or whatever. Hey, let's run something.
Okay. Is the UI for finding people to make them your friend very friendly?
I haven't had much of a problem because you can use your same target reticle. You know, you can target friendly players too, and you can usually just right-click on a player and say invite to Pantheon, invite to group, send friend request, ignore them if you like.
Okay.
So.
Well, as a guild leader, do you feel like you will have any kind of challenges recruiting in the game based on instance content by and large?
I don't think the instance part is going to be much of a problem because one, as people see us around and people are randomly grouping, we're just talking, they see us on the forums, because everything in game you can connect to the forums directly from in game without leaving the game.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's their Alienet portal system, to where you can see everything on their forums and websites straight from the game without ever leaving the game.
Sweet.
And they have little communication stations, so you can walk up and see all that stuff in game. And then, like I said, a lot of us Grievous players, we're not the type that don't mind grouping with random people. We will just use the looking for group function and say, hey, and then we play with the see people. We're like, hey man, we like playing with you. I was like, hey, have you checked out? Are you in it? And you can tell about in game they're not in a guild or a Pantheon. Hey, you might want to check out our site, see if we're a fit for you, and hopefully we are, because I foresee a lot of people looking for those large groups because of the Pantheon wars and the other benefits.
I can definitely see that too. Well, cool. All right. So I understand the PvP is pretty darn optional. Are there any areas within the game that are like flagged as PvP that happen to be open where you can just go bash somebody's skull in, or is it all about, hey, I'd really like to go bash people's skull in? Checkmate. How does that work?
Yeah, there is currently no open world PvP in game right now.
Okay.
Everything is you queue up to go do it. They have, I think it's 5 different arenas, so to speak, for PvP, and then you can just queue up. Some are 6 versus 6, 5 versus 5. Some are free for all, to where it's no teams at all. You just go in there and it's kill everybody.
Okay. Dang. All right. So you could feasibly have guild versus guild just by going in there and beating each other in the face. Cool.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Sometimes that's really fun. I've heard it's worked for Neverwinter. We'll see how many folks want to go in there and bash each other in the face. Let me check and see if we have any other questions that we have missed. And yes, Steel, I have lots of friends. You're my friend, so there. I have a friend. Gandomel's my friend.
I like Steel's answer. You joined Grievous, that's how.
Yes. Yes, that is a good answer. Can you tell us about becoming a god? That's a great question. How does that work?
Okay, once you reach enough prestige and unlocked your divine abilities inside your upper atlas, you become a god, which starts a whole nother skill tree because you can basically customize your god form to be, hey, I'm a ranged DPS god, or I'm a melee god, I'm a support god. And a very unique function about this is, say you're in an instance and your group on the 5-man can't beat this boss for some reason, or can't get past this gauntlet inside the instance. You can pray, basically, and summon a god into the instance that's part of your guild, and he can come in and just wipe the floor with everybody because you summoned the god in. Because you just hit like a wall that you can't get past.
Oh. So, alright. You have your particular god form. So you can't just be like, okay, I'm gonna go all Hulk smash up in here. Push a button, here I am all Hulk smash god form. Can you do that?
I don't understand the question. Say it again.
Well, okay. Say you reach the point where you can have your god form, right?
Okay.
My god form happens to be a big, raging, angry melee person.
Gotcha.
Right. Could I just say, hey, this is kind of hard. I'm going to push this button and go all Hulk on this area. Can you do that?
Yeah, yes, you can.
Sweet.
And it's even functional in PvP.
Oh, dang. All right. So you could really wipe the floor with people. Got it. So,
or they could wipe the floor with you.
Yeah, true. Okay.
Depending on timing and when you used it. Because there is a cooldown for it. So it's not like you can just anytime use it.
How long does it usually stay up? Is it like a buff?
From what I've seen, it's up for a certain amount of time. It uses something called a faith resource. So based on how many people believe in you, followers and adepts and stuff like that, you build a faith resource. So it will last as long as your faith resource is up.
Does that regenerate?
Yes.
As your little AI Gandomel are doing their okay.
Pretty much. And then you'll be on your cooldown for X amount of minutes. It could be 10 minutes. I don't know the exact amount of cooldown, so I don't want to speculate.
Okay.
But I've heard rumors it's around 10 minutes.
Got it. Alright, so I'm understanding the whole progression of your player. You start out, you're an immortal, you choose your class or classes, whatever. You level them up as you get more sparks and complete more missions. You then hit your upper echelon, which then opens up the god form. Right?
Well, it opens up the way to get the god form. Yeah, you have to work through your atlas to get to the god node. Just like unlocking a class, you have to work to the divine node to unlock the god form.
Okay, how creepy are the god forms? Are they kind of... Can it get weird?
No, they have basically 3 basic ones. They have like your generic looking Norse god, blonde flowing hair, big bulky god.
Okay.
Then you have like a mechanical looking god. And then you have like a necro looking, like undead god.
Okay, so we've got Thor, the Borg, and Emo God. Cool, okay, got it. Sweet. Got it. And that makes sense about the follower minigame. There are a lot of little things that connect in this game, aren't there?
Yeah, that's why I said a lot of the systems sound confusing, but once you get the basic of it, they sound a lot more complicated than they really are.
Got it. Okay, sweet. Well, I know we don't know a lot about endgame, but so far we understand them to be lots of players and matches using high-level abilities. Is that about the extent of what we know?
That's for the Pantheon Wars. There are raids, invasions, anomalies, distortions, all already in-game that are high-end content.
Okay. Okay.
So like the invasion is a massive world event. Kind of like, like I said in the very beginning, there's other world gods that want to take our followers since we have no upper, main god of the planet anymore. So they would invade our area, and it was basically a call to arms for the planet to destroy these invading forces. And if we're successful, we get a victory phase where we get a worldwide buff, opens up a raid that's available for the next 3 days to go in and raid and do that kind of stuff. If we fail, it creates a desolate area we can go visit, and everything's just on fire and dead because the invading forces won. We didn't push them back.
Do you ever get that back?
Yeah, no, it's on the same cooldown as a victory phase.
Okay.
And it would revert back after 3 days, and then it's back to normal, and then the timer, a preparation timer will pop up the next time an invasion is going to happen and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So there are a lot of real-time random events, I'm understanding.
Yes, for the invasions.
That's pretty cool. Okay. So if I'm pretty new to the game, can I still participate in these things and not get my butt totally handed to me, or should I just say my own prayer and hope?
No, I mean, you can go to the area. I mean, there's rewards. It's open to every player.
Okay.
Hopefully, it would kind of work kind of like most military systems do. You know, you have your front line, you have your people in the back, and you could be that low level prestige guy back there with 5,000 prestige and just shooting stuff at range at people.
Okay.
While your gods come in or something like that and just start trying to beat off the massive waves of mobs.
Got it. So it ends up being kind of a full-scale assault with lots and lots and lots of things to kill, as I understand it. Or
Pretty
do they?
much.
Cool. Okay. Sweet. We had another question from, I think it's Bouse Train. Will those events happen in OBT? I'm not sure what OBT is.
Open beta.
Oh, duh. Hello. Sorry.
Open beta is basically the soft release. All these, like the invasions, the anomalies, distortions, 10-man raids, all available in open beta. It's basically their soft release, but I think a lot of development companies still call it a beta. Like Neverwinter, I believe, is still an open beta, and it's been 2 years.
Okay, so it's just terminology for early release. We might change stuff at some point.
Right. That leaves them. I think gives them the fluidness to change any systems that may be wrong, or they need to change something. You know, guild functionality or grouping systems, and people can't. Oh man, well the game was released and now you get all these patches. Well, no, we said we're in beta still.
Fair enough. Okay. So. Do you see a lot that they might need to change? Are there any bugs that you've run into?
Not nothing major that inhibits gameplay. I mean, I have seen some graphical stuff. Like, say, as a gunner, I'm shooting my gun, but I might be shooting a little cockeyed 45-degree angle this way, but I'm actually hitting the guy in front of me, and it's just like a graphical error or something like that. But all the major functionality and gameplay systems seem to be running really good. I haven't had any major hiccups. Found a bit of Russian here and there in the actual text, but that's all minimal. That doesn't really inhibit your gameplay.
Okay. Oh, that is pretty minimal. Now you've been mentioning testing. How long have they been in testing at this point, or do we know?
I believe the first CBT started in March.
Oh wow. Okay. So it's been going on a while.
Yeah, it's been going on for several months. We're about 6 months behind Russian betas. Like they've been in OBT for about 6 months now.
Okay.
So
cool.
We're not too far behind their release, but it is a Russian company that originally built the game. So
okay.
It's Allods. I don't know if people know, and Obsidian's doing the North American release in conjunction with them.
Cool. All right. Do you know how long the game's been in development to begin with?
No, I actually first found out about the game, say 3 or 4 months ago, and then it really struck my imagination because the genre it doesn't limit itself to being medieval or limit itself to being science only or being fantasy or whatever. It has a lot of potential for things to come, as the developers see fit.
Cool. Where would you like to see the game go, just based on our limited knowledge right now of in-game?
What I know about the invasions, because as you drive them off, you learn more about your enemy. So you gain resistances, where they come from. You can eventually go onto their ship and kill their avatar of their god. I'm hoping to see it now, like with that functionality, as you learn more and more, to where we can actually go to their planet and invade them. Is where I'd like to see it going. To where it's like a bigger raid or an off-world raid, to where we get in a ship, so to speak. You of course show a little graphic of us flying off, and we actually invade their planet.
That would be pretty cool.
Like if they're trying to steal our followers, why can't we steal theirs?
Yeah, so it's like leaving some poo on their doorstep instead of them.
Pretty much.
Yeah, got it. Okay, cool. Well, awesome. And I don't think I've asked, what do you tend to play as far as classes go, and what kind of god will you be, Gandomel?
Okay, I've CBT3 I tested a paladin.
Okay.
CBT4 I started with an alchemist and then opened up necromancer, and then I just was been playing a gunner now in this stress test, and yeah, I'm still on the fence. I like all 4, so I haven't decided who I'm going to go with, but I do know my original path is probably going to go to open up necromancer and then over to monk.
Okay.
But the starting classes, I'll probably be a paladin or a gunner.
Cool. Okay. So, what's special about hitting the monk eventually?
I just like their gameplay. It's very fluid. They have a long bow staff, and they do a lot of kicking around, jumping around, a lot of maneuverability. So it seems like it's a very good tune to be using for PvP.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, are they pretty much melee DPS with a whole lot of get out of the way, or do they have some support abilities? Do they have shields? Any of that?
Yeah, they're a melee class, and they do a lot of up close fighting. But they can switch into different stances: earth, fire, water. And depending on what stance you're in, one kind of is more of a stone skin type thing, or earth, where you're not dealing as much damage as possible, but you're taking some reduced damage. The fire, of course, is just all out trying to kick their butt. And the water's more of a defensive, to where you're bouncing around. You can like kick flip off somebody and push them away from you, that kind of stuff. So
okay,
it's just depending on your style of gameplay or how well you can switch between your keys while you're fighting. You could actually play all three stances and put different damage buffs and stuff on people, and then kick away and knock them down and all that kind of stuff. So
cool. Okay, yeah, that would not work for me very well. I'm not that fast, but that's really sweet that it's available. I guess that leads to another question about, you can't take abilities from one class and use them while you're in another. So, for example, I couldn't have a shield from a paladin while I'm playing a necromancer, right?
Kinda. There's once you max out a class, you unlock what they call their class symbol talent.
Mm-hmm.
You can have 3 of them active no matter what class you're playing.
Okay.
So like the Paladin's one, which has been widely rumored on the forums, is too good to disregard, especially for high-end content. He actually, anytime before combat, like you're out of combat, puts a shield on yourself that absorbs, I think it's 12% of the incoming damage, or it absorbs all incoming damage as long as it's not more than 10% of your maximum health.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's very good for PvE purposes, but each class has their own specific symbol for maxing out that class, and once you max it out, it unlocks it, and you can use them on any character you're playing. You just have to like activate it, so to speak.
Got it. Okay, so there are some benefits, even if you don't plan to play the class necessarily, to maxing out that particular atlas. Cool. That makes a lot of sense. Checking to see if we have questions. Oh, sweet. Martine mentioned the knight's pretty cool. They make you want to scream, "This is Sparta!"
Yes, they are very much like they remind me of a lance tier class. They have a very long jousting spear lance like the old Spartan warriors did, and they have the large ankle to shoulder shield.
Wow.
So yeah, he's very accurate with "This is Sparta." That's exactly what they remind me of.
Oh my goodness. How accurate is the big old jousting stick thingy? Because that seems a little ungainly.
No, it works out pretty well. They do a lot of they can do a lot of AoE sweeping strikes, and they even have an ability called Battering Ram where you just charge towards somebody.
Okay, that's cool. Now, okay, the Spartans from 300 did not always wear shirts. What's the armor look like for that? Because gotta ask.
Well, the standard knight costume is your traditional medieval knight, the armor, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But like I said, anybody can wear anybody else's clothes. So, like, if you wanted to be the Spartan warrior, you could wear the berserker's costume as a knight, and now you're a Spartan warrior.
Okay. Trippy. So, you could feasibly, then, be a knight wearing an evening gown? And still be a functional knight?
If that costume was available, yes.
Oh my goodness.
Anybody can wear anything because those clothes have no statistical value. They're all for aesthetic purposes. Okay,
got it. And yet you're still wearing like full armor under the little evening gown and you're still... Okay, that's trippy.
Right, they even got a costume in there. It's your like California board shorts, so that's all you're wearing. It's just some board shorts and no shoes, no shirt.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that's gonna be trippy when you go into PvP. All right. Thinking of all the trickiness. Well, is there anything that you would like to talk about that I haven't asked you about?
Oh, let's see. No, I think we covered quite a bit here initially. I don't want to go too in depth in some of the in-game systems because, like I said, they haven't been. Anybody's never reached them, so that we don't know a lot about them, and there'll be a lot of speculation. And I don't want to put any kind of wrong information out there and then come back later, hey, you told me it was this.
Of course. All right. So can we expect you within the next week or so to talk about how the open beta has begun and has gone for you?
Yeah, we have quite a bit of here in Grievance that are going to be in the early release starting on Thursday. Because people that bought into the game can actually start playing on the 9th. The actual open beta itself doesn't open until the 16th. So we kind of get a week head start to get in there and get past some of the beginning zones, get the tutorials done, that kind of stuff. So we should have a lot of information here in the next week of how some of the game systems have been cleaned up since the last closed beta, guild functionality, grouping functionality, that kind of stuff.
Very cool. All right. Well, sweet. We'll look forward to hearing more about how everything's going. And where could somebody sign up if they have been watching this stream and would like to look us up and join our Pantheon?
Of course, you can always click the Leave It Global Gaming. It will bring you right to our forums, and you can sign up on there and just look for the Skyforge forums under the embassies, and me or Caitlin would be happy to get with you and chit-chat and know more about you and get you in the game. Very sweet.
Well, Gandomel, thank you so much for coming on and telling us more about Skyforge. I will look forward to hearing more about your adventures in game. Hopefully playing a monk or something otherwise super cool. And thank you to everybody watching. Did we? Oh, we have a question. We have one more question from Martin.
All right.
Do you know about how long it would take to unlock the knight, starting with Paladin?
Okay, if they don't release any of the collector's editions like they did in Russian, which actually made the class open immediately if you bought the pack, it would take about 3 weeks, is the estimate. For all your advanced classes, so like your knight, your witch, your monk, everything would be about 3 weeks. All your intermediate classes, you know, your archer, your kinetic, your stalker, your necro, is about 1 week.
Okay. Well, that's not excessive, really, if you think about leveling time. Sweet. Did we
and
have?
Then of course, if you like the classes you started on, then it wouldn't even pertain to you anyway.
True too. Cool.
So.
Did we have any other questions before we wrap up from anybody in the channel? And we're on a delay, so it'll take them a minute to ask another question if they have any. But I'll ask one. So as far as support classes go, I know you can be a Lightbinder or an Alchemist. Are there any other big support classes?
That's the only two out right now. There's 13 classes starting. You have 2 support, which are the Alchemist and Lightbinder, and 2 tanks, Knight and Paladin. Everything else is some form of DPS, either melee or ranged.
Cool. Do the devs plan to add more classes as time goes on?
Yes, they've already discussed beefing it up to around 20 total classes, but 13 are available at release.
All right, cool. From Bowstrain, do we have any inside info on the premium status for non-founders, like prices?
I haven't seen what they're going to charge, but I do know you can use the in-game Argents that you've collected to buy your premium status to keep, and the premium status basically gives you 50% increased rewards on gems, credits, and other gains in the game. But yeah, you can use the in-game Argents for that. I haven't seen any information for the North American release, what they're going to charge. I haven't seen anything in the cash shop yet either, what's going to be available. But I do know there's no pay-to-win gear. You can't buy consumables that make you better than anybody else. You can't buy this legendary sword that you can only get in the shop and stuff like that. Everything that the game has to offer can be done free to play without paying a dime.
Cool.
Just might take you longer.
And that's very fair, quite frankly. Cool.
So.
Streak had a question. Any word on when open beta starts? What actual physical time?
It should be 9 a.m. Eastern, because I believe it's 6 a.m. Pacific.
Woo! All right, early day for y'all. Cool. Very cool. All right. Well, sweet. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We're going to go ahead and wrap up here so that we're not in the way of our next cast. We'll look forward to seeing you within the next couple weeks to talk more about Skyforge, and we'll definitely have Gandomel in to tell us how the guild is progressing through open beta. We'll look forward to seeing you in game. Please make sure to check us out on YouTube. It's YouTube/Grievance Gaming. We're also on Twitter at Grievance Gaming and at GTGN Network TV. And our guild can be found at www.grievanceguild.com, or www.grievancegaming.org. My bad, updated website address that I needed to put on our overlay here. But come check us out. I know Gandomel really wants to have a big old forest to go in and kick butt with.
Yes.
And, yep. Any other parting words for us, sir?
Nope, just click the links. Don't forget to follow us on Twitch here. And get on the forums and hope to see you in game.
Very sweet. All right, until next time, folks, have a great night.